and all of you who are in the, whatever this place is called, sanctuary with us. I am Mary Ann Rivers. I'm a member of the Sunday Services Committee. And with Reverend Alex, we would like to look into the courage it takes to say, yes, I can. Yes, we can. If there are visitors here in the sanctuary, if you feel comfortable about it, if you'd stand and introduce yourselves.
And so, Andy, you'll be fine, but you will be welcome even if you came in your jammies. May I introduce you to Laura and Andy.
Welcome. We don't usually have such a nice introduction. Yes, I see you in the back. Would you introduce yourself?
Surely, I'm Gary Lawrenson. I'm from Iowa City, Iowa. Okay, that's a long ways away. And I come here about every year or so, except for pandemic, to visit my daughter. Dave is with me this morning, and her husband Josh.
Thank you. You are very welcome. Yes, and dear?
Hi, I'm Kathy Gray. Here I live here in Traverse City. I pass by this church all the time, so I was here once for Seder.
Welcome. And over here?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Ann Michelle, and I'm here visiting from Bethesda, Maryland, and I'm a member of the River Rose Unitarian Universalist congregation in Bethesda, and I'm visiting my sister, Chrissy, who lives here.
All right. Well, thank you. I'm so glad you brought Chrissy.
I'm Chrissy Roberts. I am a 2-year resident of Traverse City and a 4th-generation Unitarian. True. And this is my first time here.
Well, you are very welcome. This is quite an exciting new morning for us. After the service, we meet in the fellowship for coffee or tea and conversation. And if you would make a point of taking a yellow mug, then everybody will know that you are a visitor, and we should probably swamp you with conversation. So you are very, very welcome. Now then, join us after the service. I just said that, okay? And sharing our joys and concerns. Those of you who are online, perhaps you've already completed that. Those of you who are in the sanctuary, there's a book over to my right, and you're welcome to light a candle anytime during the service. It doesn't have any limitations. So, and you can write in the book or just light a candle if you wish. The word courage comes from the Latin cor, which means heart. According to poet Mark Nepo, the original use of the word courage meant to stand by one's core, a striking concept that reintroduces the belief found in almost all traditions that living from the center is what enables us to face whatever life has to offer. To encourage means to hearten, to impart strength and confidence. This is our work as a religious community, to encourage one another, to be bold in engaging the world around us, as well as what scares us internally, and to give one another the confidence and the heart to live as fully as possible. The vocal ensemble will now sing Good Trouble by Thomas Keister, who was inspired by the words and the actions of John Lewis.
This day has challenged us to make good trouble, to make good trouble, to make good trouble. This day has challenged us to make good trouble, to make this world a better place. Our faith has challenged us to make good trouble, to make good trouble, to make good trouble. Our faith has challenged us to make good trouble, to make this world a better
Where you are on life's journey, you are welcome here with us this morning. We welcome you to this service where we quiet our hearts and minds and stir our senses, feeling but for a moment the stillness and mystery that abides and is present here with us in this hour. As a congregation, our embrace is wide and deep, and we welcome you and we love you as you are, whether you're a devout worshiper or a spiritual seeker, whether you've known many faith communities or are just finding yours this morning. We welcome you straight and gay, transgender and cisgender, whether your complexion is light, dark, or somewhere in between, you can be as you are with us this morning. As we settle in, I invite you to hear these opening words. We come together every week, bound not by a creed or a mutual desire to please one God or many gods. Yet we are drawn together by a belief that how we are in the world, who we are together, matters. We gather this morning in the knowledge that love, not fear, can change the world. That a better world together, so long as we still believe, still hope, still love, and still dream, is still yet possible. And so come, dear ones, let us worship together this morning. We light our chalice this morning alongside those of you at home who are kindling your own flame, and so many other multitudes of communities and folks across our country and world who are also joining with us in worship. I will read our chalice lighting words as Mary Ann lights our chalice this morning. The words are from the Reverend Erica Hewitt. With full hearts, we affirm our relationship with one another. We recognize our agency and our connective power. And we accept our responsibility to be bold and courageous. We light this chalice, symbol of all that we are and all that we have done together, and all that we will be as our shared ministry encourages those within and beyond our walls. And we also take this moment to sound our Buddhist singing bowl, deepening our awareness and mindful presence as we focus our hearts and gather this morning. Please rise in body or in spirit as you are willing or able and join in singing our opening hymn, number 170, We Are a Gentle, Angry People. You can find these lyrics in the gray hymnals or also up here on the screen. We are gentle, angry people, and we are singing for
It's now time to share in stewardship, to become a part of the gifts given to grow, to nurture ourselves and our congregation. This isn't just financial sharing. We also share spiritually and physically and materially. Today we'll be passing baskets in the sanctuary, and for those at home, there are 3 ways to take part in the offering this morning. 1 is to mail a check to our office. 2 is to visit the website, UUCGT. That's much easier to say, isn't it? And you can also use Vanco Mobile Faith Engagement app that is on your phone, hopefully. And now we will listen to our dear Renee as she sings one of my favorite old songs, Turn, Turn, Turn.
And daytime to every purpose unto heaven. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to reap, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to laugh, a time to weep, to everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, 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 and daytime to every purpose unto heaven. A time to build up, a time to break down, a time to dance, a time to mourn, a time to cast away stones, a time to gather stones together, to everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, 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 and daytime to every purpose unto heaven. A time to love, a time to hate, a time of war, a time of peace, a time you may embrace, a time to refrain from embracing, to everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, 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 and daytime to every purpose unto heaven.
It is our practice as a religious community to set aside time in our service to name the joys and concerns that mark our lives, the milestones and moments of our lived experiences. I will be sharing a few joys and concerns that have been offered up for us to hold on our hearts together while we are gathered. If you have a joy or concern that's a bit too tender, you're welcome at any point to light a candle over to my right over here at any point in our service. You're welcome to reach out to myself privately or also a member of our congregational care team. Barb here is wearing the stole of the congregational care team. Or simply just hold it on your heart as you are felt, as you feel the love of this community as it surrounds you. None of us is ever meant to travel life's journey alone. And so here is what has been offered up for us to hold on our hearts. We hold a candle of sadness for the death of my adopted mom and great friend, Marge Rundle, from Barb Gibson. From Mary Van Valen, a joy and concern. Sad to lose Marge Rundle, but so grateful for the memories of she and Jean helping children at Traverse Heights High School. We hold a concern, get well soon wishes for our friend Jan Zerbel, who is home dealing with COVID. So we send our good wishes to Jan as she recovers. And now let us hold a brief moment of stillness and silence as we hold the joys and concerns that are silent on our hearts. Entering further into the Spirit, let us deeply breathe together as we enter into this time for contemplation and prayer, grounding ourselves on this earth, sitting in our seats, feeling the weight of the world on our bodies, on our shoulders. Let us take a couple of deep breaths in, breathing in and out. Another deep breath in and out. We are drawn together as a community because of our faith that where there are two or more who are gathered, we can still change and shift the world for the better. We know that the deep concerns on our minds and hearts these days, the challenges of our times, the overturn of Roe v. Wade and protecting reproductive rights, and the agency over one's own body, the changing climate and world we live in, with great storms, devastating fires, and rising tides, the inequities and injustices facing Black, Indigenous, and people of color in our nation, especially as racism and oppression are outsourced across our shared world. The threat to democracy in this country as fair and equal elections are imbued with doubt and further undermined. We hold also on our minds and hearts the concerns facing our own community. Our thoughts and our prayers and love go to the Rundle family as we mourn and grieve the loss of our beloved member, Arj Rundle. We also send tender thoughts of healing to Jan as she recovers from COVID. We know that we need one another, especially now, and that we know that these challenges are greater than anything we could ever hope to hold on our own two shoulders. May faith in humanity, in the spirit of life, in courageous and reckless love be ours today and always. May it be so, and amen. Mary Ann will now share with you this morning's reading.
If you are new to Unitarian Universalism, one of the things you will learn is that we are extremely proud of our history. In truth, our history is full of great things, great people, but it also has its share of shameful moments and embarrassing episodes. But we can trace our history and list the myriad ways that we have sided with love. In the Northeast of the 1800s, prominent Unitarians were effective at convincing the public of the inhumanity of slavery, while in California, Thomas Starr King was primarily responsible for keeping the Golden State in the Union during the Civil War. In advocacy for abolition, we sided with love. We were the first denomination to recognize the ordination of a woman. Hooray! It was in these Unitarian and Universalist congregations that recognized the religious leadership of women that the women's suffrage movement was born. Susan B. Anthony, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Olympia Brown are our religious forebears, and our congregations played a role as well as opening the doors for the suffragettes to organize their activities and a place for them to deliver their stirring speeches. In standing for equal rights for women, we sided with love. During the civil rights movement, when Martin Luther King issued his call to Selma, Unitarian Universalist ministers and lay people across the country answered his call. One layperson, Viola Liuzzo, and one minister, James Reeb, were martyred in Alabama. In Selma, we marched on the side of love, and our blood was shed by violent hate while we sided peacefully with love. Most recently, Unitarian Universalists have sided with love. With marriage equality, by siding with love, we UUs sped up the realization of equality and dignity for more people in our country. The tides have shifted. Love will win out over fear. Love will win out over bigotry. Love will win out over homophobia. If you've ever sided with love, what motivated you? What inspired you? What swelled up within you and gave you the moral clarity and discernment to side with love? Whether it's siding with love with immigrant families, siding with love equality, siding with health care that is more equitable, more available, and better serves human need, siding with peace, let us ask ourselves from whence we derive the motivation, the courage, the commitment to side with love, rather than sitting on the sidelines of love.
This is like the Bermuda Triangle up here, I think, a little bit. At the street corner of Wayland's Town Center, standing in front of our tall, white-steepled meeting house, a chill ran through my body as we witnessed for our first stand out for Black lives. A suburb of Boston, our street cornered a major byway, 4 lanes of busy traffic whizzing by each day right past our historic church. The moment felt pressing and imminent to do something. As the news of George Floyd's death pierced the national consciousness, videos of a knee to his neck and his cry of, "I can't breathe," showcasing the pure and utter inhumanity. That Sunday after his death, a cloth mask covering my face, I took to the street corner, a minister still in training, hoisting up a large Black Lives Matter sign. The chill I felt radiated through my body with each passing car, noticing those that cheered and honked in support, but also noticing those who were angry. Folks who rolled down their windows and screamed at us, faces red with anger and hands alive with gestures. Despite the anger that we fielded, these standouts weekly became a fixture of our church's presence on that street corner. And each Sunday after church, as I'd stand on that corner with my Black Lives Matter sign, I'd feel that familiar chill deep within. The feelings of suspicion and skepticism as they meet with both anxiety and fear. The skepticism that our standout was really doing anything, wondering if it really was changing any minds, mixed with the fear that these killings just wouldn't stop. Internally, I felt weary and defeated on that street corner, restless and aching to do something in support of our Black and brown neighbors, and yet feeling the hopelessness of our times then. A raging global pandemic, an increasing number of names added with George's of unarmed black people killed at the hands of law enforcement, the growing destruction of our natural world with a shifting climate, storms, and wildfires raging. As a minister in training, I felt the chill of all of this, wondering what words I'd have for others in times like these. Wondering how I would not only be able to make sense of these times for myself, but also speak life and hope to those looking to me to have it. I remember the desperation I felt, wondering what it is we could do to change these systems and issues, thinking about how we could undo and dismantle centuries of racism, violence, and exploitation, wondering if undoing it was even possible with how baked in these are to our national identity and society. Now, what they don't tell you in seminary is that this feeling, this chill, never really goes away. I still find myself at that metaphorical street corner from time to time, wondering what a minister can say in times like these. When each of us is tasked with making sense of these moments and wondering how it is that we can make a difference, or even if making a difference is possible. I'm wondering how many of you have ever felt like I did at that street corner, feeling crushed with despair at the state of things, desperately wanting to make a difference. In this Soul Matters month of courage, we're turning to what it means to have courage in the face of a scary and frightening world. We're looking at the courage it takes to actually do something about these issues facing us, even with how powerless and defeated we can feel at times, the hopelessness with wondering how it is that any single one of us can possibly make a difference. There are so many challenges facing us today that we might feel that we simply aren't up to it. And I don't need to reiterate the flood of troubling events and news headlines in our world. Some of you even come to church to try and escape it all. With the news as it is, some of us might feel like we aren't strong enough or simply aren't powerful enough to shift the arc of the universe toward justice, especially as each day we take a step forward seems to bring with it several steps back. And while we may not feel strong or powerful enough at times, I believe that we can still make a difference, even with the hopelessness that we may feel. In fact, it's our religious mission and duty as Unitarian Universalists to not give up, to do what we can in our small corners of the world to make life better for our neighbors and also ourselves. Evidence of our track record of this religious witness can be seen in our Standing with Love reading, a sermon by the Reverend Tom Belote that Mary Ann read for us. In this excerpt, Belote highlights many of the ways that Unitarian Universalists have sided with love in the midst of their own challenging and uncertain times, of our role in showing the inhumanity of slavery, of our valuing the ordination of women as the first denomination to recognize a woman's place in religious leadership, of how we showed up not only for women's suffrage, but for civil rights, with the calls of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. for clergy and people of faith to go and show up in Selma, Viola Liuzzo and the Reverend James Reeb even giving their lives answering this call, our new and freshly minted association even sending up to 1/5 of all Unitarian Universalist ministers to this cause, about 500 total. Unitarians, Universalists, and Unitarian Universalists have always known the importance of showing up, of the power of actions and deeds over words and creeds to the causes of justice and liberation. In Belote's words, the tides have shifted. Love will win out over fear, over bigotry. Let us ask ourselves from whence we derive this motivation, the courage, the commitment to side with love, rather than sitting on the sidelines of love. This is the same question that I ask of us today. What is it that compels us to side with love over simply sitting on the sidelines? Where do we Unitarian Universalists derive our motivation, our courage to do this important work? How do we find the courage inside and amongst ourselves to challenge a world of pain and torment, to say that there is no excuse for injustice, only inaction? More importantly, what do we UUs believe about love? Will love really win over fear and bigotry? Will it? Does the arc of the moral universe really bend toward justice? Or are we in this perpetual fight against the evils of inhumanity and injustice in all of the ways that these come? In other words, can we ever really change this world for the better? Our changing climate is a good case study in our present hopelessness, as well as our need to act. As scientists point to the irrevocable damage done by humans to our planet, climate change is no longer an if, but a how and a when. Once we told stories of humans getting ahead of this mess, changing and shifting the curve, and instead we must now tell stories about how we are going to mitigate the damage. For many of us, this might be cause enough to give up, to say, forget it, and lean into the pessimism of this message. And while we won't be able to go back to stop climate change in its tracks, we know that it is our role to do what we can to preserve not only human life, but also natural life. Yes, we can becomes a defiant cry against the present moment. While we can't stop it, we can be bearers of hope that there's still something that we can do to protect the interconnected web of all existence and the worth and dignity of our neighbors. Beyond our changing climate, we might have yet another cause to feel hopeless with the dramatic rise of white Christian nationalism in our nation. The ways that our country's racialized caste system affects Black and brown lives and life outcomes, how the January 6th attack on the nation's capital showed us just how volatile and destructive this ideology is. How white Christian nationalism has both poisoned our national identity and ethos and sown doubt over peaceful and fair elections. Again, that refrain of yes, we can proves defiant. We are in the midst of a sociocultural struggle over who it is that we are as a nation and as a people. We as a nation have never been just white or Christian. Sorry to break it to you if you didn't get the memo. We are not a white Christian nation, even as a cross-section of society tries to make it so. As Unitarian Universalists, we must be on the forefront of resisting this harmful nationalism. Our fifth principle, the right of conscience and the use of democracy in society at large, is what is fully at stake in this moment. The era of being a majority white, even a majority Christian nation is coming to an end itself. You might have heard of a group called the Religious Nuns, that's N-O-N-E-S, nuns. According to the Pew Research Center, religious nuns, people with no particular religion or affiliation, now make up almost a fifth of our population, while Christians have seen a 12% decline over the last decade. We continue to see a subsection of this neighbor that is clinging to its diminishing power, clinging on with buttery fingers. With the overturn of Roe v. Wade by the Supreme Court, we see the vestiges of this power scrambling to hang on. And beyond white Christian nationalism, we're seeing a national spiritual debate unfold before our own eyes. The debate over whether the separation of church and state is mightier than the interests of government and religious conservatives to control and police people's bodies, especially the bodies of women. This is an opportune time for us religious liberals, for the religious left, to reclaim some of our power and prophetic witness in these struggles. It is a time for us to showcase how there is no religious monopoly over the politics of our times, how our values are just as much informed by our faith as theirs are. Again, our rallying cry of, yes, we can, calls us to action, but in reality, our cry becomes, yes, we must. While we can't solve these issues overnight, we cannot give up on trying. With our Time for All Ages story, we know that we don't really need to be superheroes after all in order to make a difference. While there's a whole world of pain and trouble out there, there are still things that we can do to help. We can pick up trash and compost, reuse things, and recycle. We can nourish our minds, bodies, and spirits with good food and provide good food for our neighbors. We can find the small ways to turn frowns upside down, even when we ourselves are frightened and uncertain. In the words of the story, folks will ask, "What's your secret? What gives you such powers?" And we'll say, "Just believe." Our world calls us to be a prophetic people of faith in just believe, even with this faith that sometimes can feel so far from us. Standing at that street corner in Wayland, I know I wasn't alone in wondering what could be done. I know that this is something that all of us are chewing on with the challenges that face us. In fact, if you ever figure it out, I would love to hear from you, and maybe you can enlighten all of us with, what we can actually do directly and how we can actually make a full impact. And I know that those chills that I feel in my body arise not just out of that same question of what can I do or say, but also out of that deeper question, what can we do to speak life to this weary world? I wish that I could give you easy answers, that I could promise that these troubles that plague us and our world could be solved within our lifetimes. In all honesty, we're all sorting and figuring this out, even us ministers who try so hard to have the answers, to know where it is that we're going and how. While we all wrestle and struggle, we can still do our part in choosing to side with love and justice, just as our forebears did in their own times that felt weary and hopeless, even in the wake of the times that they sometimes failed. We can answer that question once and for all. Yes, we can, and yes, love really does win over fear and bigotry. That courage itself doesn't mean having all the answers. Courage means stepping up to the plate and siding with love in all the ways we can, even when we're scared and afraid, and even when our own faith falters. Our faithful imagination is what is asked most of us. And as Unitarian Universalists, we know there's too much at stake if we don't try. We know that it's on us, not on God, not on others, but on all of us if we're going to really bend that arc of the universe for the better. And while we can feel the pangs of loss and defeat, we know that the struggle for justice isn't over. Love will have the final say. Just believe. And so, may you remember that you are not alone in those times when you feel powerless to shape the world, when you feel anything but like a superhero. When you feel those chills, may you know that others are right there with you, that there are more of us than we sometimes realize who are actually helping to make this world a better place. And when you have given up all hope, may you find your faith again, knowing that giving up is not a possibility, as tempting as it looks. May we all feel empowered, knowing the weight of the world and all its troubles rests not just on our own small shoulders. If we truly believe, we can side with love and choose justice, one day, one small action, and one more step each time. And so, in the name of this great faith, I say, yes, we can. May it be so, and amen. We will remain seated as we sing now together our closing song that our very own music director, Renee Russell, will lead us in, and she will introduce and even teach us.
Wonderful public resource out there now called the Social Justice Songbook. It's open sourced, all free to use as long as it's being used for good and not for money. And this is a beautiful song. It's called I Lift My Voice, written by Andrea Ramsey. And she just was inspired to create something that talks about using our voices to highlight the things that are needed and to inspire ourselves to get involved. So the vocal ensemble is going to sing this through. If you feel confident or like you're up for it, join us on the refrains. It's a nice upbeat number, and we're going to kind of start to bring this into the fold of songs that we do on a regular basis. So called I Lift My Voice.
extinguish our chalice. And let us hope that we hold the warmth of community with us all week long. Is there an amen?
There's an amen. Doesn't take much more than that. In the spirit of covenant, community, and commitment, and in our collective endeavors to still yet turn, bend, and change this world for the better, may we be made ready to serve one another and to create the world that we so desperately dream of. So go in peace all, may it be so, and amen. And just one short note before you head off, as usual. It is our final session online after the service today for those of you online that are joining us to learn more about Safe Harbor. The link should be in the flash if you'd like to connect for that. And there's also a chance to meet with folks, those of you here in person, to talk with folks after our service in the fellowship hall about Safe Harbor. And so I say that now, go in peace. Good to be with you all this morning, and grow in love.